This is today's business leaders. Actionable advice from real-world professionals. And now here's your host, Gabe Arnold.
Today I have Miles Anthony with me, and he is the founder, I believe, over at Flux Ventures, right? Right, Miles?
Yep, exactly.
And so he's going to share with us a little bit about his entrepreneurial journey, how he got started, and also touch on cryptocurrency, which is kind of nerdy for some people listening probably, but it's something that I've been reading about and following off and on for quite a few years. But Miles is the expert here, not me. So to start out, Miles, tell us just a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey, kind of how that started for you and how that led you to where you are today and what you do now.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. But yeah, basically I started my first business when I was a sophomore at UCLA in 2015. It was an e-commerce business called Flux Chargers. We got started out of an incubator space at the UCLA campus over summer. And we started out by just making a sleek portable phone charger. Tested our product by actually just selling it to the streets, to people on the streets of Santa Monica and the surrounding area around campus. Just to get some feedback and, perfect our pitch. And then once we realized that wasn't really scalable, we wanted to pursue, online sales, at which point we got into, SEO, digital marketing, et cetera. And got to a point where we got a fulfillment center in Texas, developed the product even more, did a lot of different iterations of the charger, making it better each time. And then got to a point where the whole business was pretty much automated. And we would make, anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 of revenue a day. And then we didn't even have to touch the product because they had it straight from China to Texas in our warehouse, then distributed throughout the U.S. From sales came in from Amazon on our website. And so running that business during college kind of taught me, a lot of, pretty important lessons in entrepreneurship. But most importantly, it allowed me to, be freed financially from actually having to get a job. When all my peers, when we graduated, everyone was looking for a job and because they needed to make money. But I was fortunate enough to establish this revenue stream so that I could pursue other ventures. So this last summer, I graduated in June, and then I started a bunch of different projects, one of which was an iPhone game. I made an iPhone game, designed the whole thing myself. It's called Puska Boost. It's on the App Store. And then I hired another intern to help me build an algorithmic trading bot that trades Ethereum. Ethereum is the second biggest cryptocurrency on the market. It's a whole platform for developers to build smart contracts on and, developed their own ERC20 tokens, which, is the big hype nowadays. It's which everything is having an ICO. That's kind of what really got me interested in the space, the ability to, build your own token and on the Ethereum platform. And so we started trading Ethereum, every second. It was based on predictions of price and volume. Every second it would make trades based on these predictions. And then as I got deeper into the space, I got into trading all different types of coins, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Dash, Monero, you name it, to the point where we grew a small fund of 25K to today. We've raised a little bit of, private investment from, our contacts, but now my partner and I manage over 200K in cryptocurrencies. Split between, just holding, rebalancing. We have a few quant bots that we have made that take advantage of various arbitrage opportunities in the market, both within an exchange and between exchanges, because it's such a young market space. There's a lot of inefficiencies, and if you're able to, look at these price points at every second, you can definitely find areas where you can make, clear profit through arbitrage. And so that's kind of got me into this space. I just thought, cryptocurrencies and in the blockchain in general is an interesting space to hop into, given the fact that I didn't really have to seek out a traditional job following my graduation from UCLA. So I kind of just jumped headfirst into it. I still have to manage, 1 to 2 hours a day, running Flux Chargers,
Okay.
which is the main, business that pays my rent, feeds me and everything. But a lot of my time now is focused on the cryptocurrency space. I've even started a website, just a news site called the Crypto Times. It's just we just publish various news of cryptocurrency related things, and we do sponsored posts, so we monetized. So we like people announcing their ICOs. We have ads on the site where people can buy banner to announce their token, and that kind of what really helped me get entrenched in the space, and it gave me a bunch of good introductions to a lot of people that have been like pretty integral in both helping me learn better trading strategies, help manage the fund, etc. So I don't know, I'd say my advice to any aspiring entrepreneur, if you have a field of interest that you want to dive into, I would definitely recommend just starting a blog or a news site or some type of website that publishes articles and editorials about that particular area of interest, and then just hit up people on LinkedIn that are like pretty notable within that field, and ask if you can interview them and talk about what their experience was, any like pretty interesting questions like you think your readers that are follow your interests would benefit from knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of how I got started in that space. And now we've actually been working out of Science Blockchain's office. It's in Santa Monica, and we got that intro from just a Crypto Times article. It's just an incubator in Santa Monica area. They just invest in early stage startups and incubate them. They're known for Dollar Shave Club as their poster child. They have over a dozen exits, pretty notable, but now their focus is shifting towards crypto and blockchain space. So it made sense for me to hop into that
Very cool.
Environment. Yeah. But yeah, is that kind of give you a little overview of my background and everything?
Yeah, that's excellent. That's perfect. And I have a few kind of questions around that. And before I get to the questions, number one, great advice on getting connected into an industry. Coming up with the Crypto Times and being just asking questions and feeding the audience that's already there puts you in the middle of it. And anytime you can be in the middle, you can make money.
Exactly.
And you can connect, which is very cool. So that's a fantastic strategy, which is really good advice.
Exactly.
So two questions. First one is, it sounds like the Flux Chargers has been, honestly, massively successful. It's not like millions of dollars a month, but it's massively successful in the sense that it's completely freed you up to do even more entertaining things or things that you're more interested in. How did you fall into that? How did you engineer that? Have you had business mentors that helped you figure it out, or is this just something that you just kind of sat down and did the research? How did that work?
I'd say ever since I was young, I definitely knew I wanted to start a business, and I was very interested in computer hardware and electronics in general.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of was a natural step, and I kind of just realized that I wanted to make a product that I could sell to anyone. I really like product. I have a background in UI UX. I've done a few internships in that back when I was early in college, and so I definitely like the product space. But I realized I also really liked sales. So I wanted to make a product that that I could be able to sell, to just anyone. And so that's kind of why I thought of the portable phone charger would be an ideal product to sell, because you literally, everyone has a smartphone, and everyone experiences the problem that it addresses, which is low battery.
Yeah.
And so when I was, picking out a design for this, I didn't have to design it from scratch. I worked parallel with Chinese manufacturers to, figure out a very slim design with built-in cords, and kind of modified a lot of their existing designs to, arrive at the charger that we sold then, and continue to sell today. We've gone through like over a half dozen iterations of the product. Every time we made it slightly better. One time we changed the mold to from plastic to now it's like a matte black mold for our black model and a matte white for the white model. And so yeah, that's kind of how I got into that space. I just really wanted to make a product basically that that could appeal to pretty much anyone.
Yeah, that's definitely a mass market product for sure. Everybody needs one, which is great.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is definitely a good thinking which is like counter sometimes to what you hear, quote unquote, some guru folks say, like super niche down and get into a niche and get it really specific. You went the complete opposite and said, hey, literally everybody in the world, now or in the near future is going to need one of these, and you just served a massive need, which is definitely interesting.
Exactly.
What was what was the process like of working with a Chinese manufacturer? Was there any learning curve or thrown away money that happened in that process, or how did that go?
Yeah, there's definitely I wouldn't say thrown away money, but it was definitely we had to go through a lot of iterations and samples and looking at is this what we want, and going back and forth, and that takes a lot of time because they have to ship it from China to I was in LA at the time, and so it took a while to just go back and forth and get it to a point where I was happy with not only the product, but I designed the whole packaging, design all of that. So pretty much everything that comes in the box, it was thought through thoroughly, because I like I said, I had a background in just product. So I'd say it's definitely a language barrier. I don't personally speak Chinese, so I had to seek out help from some of my friends, and my roommate my freshman year is fluent in Chinese, so that kind of helped. One of my roommates was. I had two roommates, but so that definitely helped bridge the gap. And I don't know, you definitely have to be patient while communicating with people on on the other side of the world, because the time difference as well. So that definitely made it a little bit hard. But like I said, I'd say it's been about 2.5 years since I really started the business, and the first year of it, we didn't really sell much, to be honest. We only sold we got to one charger a day, which was not enough to pay for anything.
Yeah, no
really.
Kidding.
And we got eventually, we're able to get it to 20 to 30 to 40, 50 chargers a day.
Yeah.
Which then required us to actually get a fulfillment center, because in the beginning I was literally just sending these out personally every morning. I would just go to the post office near UCLA campus, the UPS office actually near UCLA campus, and just send all of them out.
Nice.
Which I kind of got over pretty fast, because I had to package every single one, print out every single shipping label. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was kind of a hassle. So I was all right, I definitely need to scale this so I don't have to do this anymore. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I just bought a little physical product company. I've never ever had physical products. We've always done digital and apps and all sorts of stuff. And we're starting. Yeah. It kind of went dormant. I built this company for a client years ago, and they kind of let it slide and just go dormant. And I bought it up at a steal, and now we're kind of starting it up again. And I know exactly what you're talking about. This is fine with a couple of orders, but when it's 100 orders a day, then I can't be dealing with this anymore.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It definitely helped a lot to be able to outsource that. And it's for sure. Cause there's warehouses that do that, completely as their service.
Right.
So, and they have, relationships with the shipping company, the carriers and everything. So it's definitely, the step in the right direction to do that for an e-commerce business.
So with both of those relationships, working with the Chinese manufacturer and then working with the fulfillment center, did you just do your own research and reach out and just interview people, or how did you end up choosing those vendors?
It took a few, times to reach out and just really get a feel for it. And personally, I really like just doing business with people that I get along with on a personal level.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just really had to, it took a few phone calls, Skype calls to actually talk to the Chinese manufacturer on the phone, too. They speak way better English than I speak Chinese.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were able to, actually communicate and get a feel for it. And I think I definitely hit it out of the park with both of them. I think they're both like relationships that I think I'm going to have for a long time, because I have a few, I have one more actual hardware product that I've been, doing a little bit of consulting with, and I may, it's in the cryptocurrency hardware space, and I may end up, using the same fulfillment center that I used for Flux Chargers. Cool. Most likely, actually, just because I have that.
You have that resource
relationship. Yeah.
So really for
exactly.
you, it's just a matter of kind of like getting that good gut feel after you spend some time communicating, and you just feel like it's somebody that you can trust and work with.
Exactly. Because things are bound to go wrong. Like obviously, like orders get messed up, like, like the product doesn't work or something. And like, it's important to have a solid relationship with that other party involved, because you want them to, have the desire to make things right when they mess up. Because like, obviously nothing's perfect and everything's, eventually something's going to come up.
Right.
And so I think, when I try to pick out those people, I want to be like, all right, this person like actually cares about like my success, and because they realize that my success and their success are like parallel. So that was like really important. And there's been times where orders have been screwed up. Units have been like made incorrectly, and we gotta, react to that quickly and work out a deal where, we get it to the client as soon as possible with the right order and everything, and recover from it.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So onto the cryptocurrency. I've read a fair amount about it, done a little bit of research. I kind of understand the concept, but I feel like for a lot of people, it's just way out there. So is there a way, and maybe there's not, because it is kind of a complex thing and it's a new market and like there's a lot to it. Is there a simple way to explain to somebody that's never dealt with crypto before what it is and how it works?
I would say on the most simple level, it's a universal ledger. That's it's not anything, the technology is not really revolutionary in any way. It's just as simple as, a computer being decentralized. So it's like there's a lot of computers, working for a common goal in mind, whether it is to like keep, a universal ledger. In Bitcoin's case, it's a universal ledger. Like each node in the system is like a different computer, just keeping track of, each account and what values are in each account. And they set it up so that there's like a incentive system to be honest. So each node has to, be honest and keeping that, note of who has what. And if they're not, then there's like, they get punished, like if they're not honest. So basically it allows, one computer and one like system to be like completely decentralized. And then as a result, it's harder to hack. Like you can't just attack the system very easily because it's, all over the world. Like Bitcoin is completely,
country
all over the world.
agnostic.
So,
Yeah,
exactly. There's not just one server room where you can, like a hacker can just, attack like you've seen recently, like with the, in the news, like that's like kind of the whole, value proposition of the blockchain is that the decentralization enables, the data to be actually, secure.
Right.
Yeah.
So it almost reminds me of like BitTorrenting, where you're pulling a file from multiple locations, and it doesn't matter if who's online or who's not, because there's kind of a global presence for that file or that entity, or like the ledger, like you said, similar in some sense, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's kind of like what I think a lot of people don't really understand that. It's not like this revolutionary, like new technology. It's just a different way of like storing data, and a different way. It's just a different system where incentives are aligned for each node in the network to contribute and like, hold up the network. And, Bitcoin is like the perfect example. Like when, Satoshi made it back in 2008, I don't know if him or whatever, if the team of, Satoshi Nakamoto like knew how big it would be, but like they kind of killed it in the sense that they made, an autonomous network that has grown to such, ridiculous value nowadays. It's like almost $100 billion market cap.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So just to explore that a little bit more, so you said like it's like a universal ledger. So for super oversimplification of it, your computer, my computer, and your roommate's computer all keep a log that says there's 100 bitcoins in the system, and you have 30, I have 30, and your roommate has 40. Is that basically how it works? I mean, I know that's a little oversimplified, but is that the concept?
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. And then each computer is incentivized to just tell the truth.
Okay.
Based on the reward, and that reward comes from mining.
Okay.
That makes it gets a little bit more complex, but the way it's set up is like you hear of mining, like mining for Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
That mining is just like the incentive for each node to, pretty much like donate their computing power to keeping the network secure and keeping that universal ledger.
Okay.
So it's not definitely not anything,
crazy,
like
fancy.
revolution crazy. Yeah. It's just a bunch of computers communicating with each other and being honest with each other.
Very cool.
Keeping a tally. And the real innovation, I think, in the blockchain came with the alignment of incentives for each computer to just be honest. Because if one computer just wants to be dishonest and like could get away with it and like, make their account have like, a ridiculous amount of Bitcoin, then they would probably do it. I feel like that's just the nature of it.
Right.
But the system is constructed in a way where that's just not possible.
So it's self-protecting.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
So then, because it's like a new currency and a new market, it's not something that you think about with like we see the dollar go up and down or the euro go up and down or the yen. I mean, we see like in a traditional market, we see value changes, but in some senses, we tie that to real estate, where years ago it was gold backed, or like we have a different perception of that. How do you explain the value that's equated to Bitcoin? Is all value in a monetary system just perception, or how does value tie into something like this?
Right. It's definitely a lot of speculation right now because a lot of people are, just hopping in because they think they see the gains. Like it's ridiculous. Like last summer it was at like 500 and now it's over 5,000.
Right.
So a lot of people are speculating and they want to make a quick buck. But I think the underlying technology is where the value is. And I think Bitcoin, it's the oldest successful like cryptocurrency, and it's proven that it's, worthy of a store of value. It's like a lot of people like Jamie Dillon, the JP Morgan guy, a lot of people have been criticizing Bitcoin for not being like a legitimate currency and being a bubble or a fraud or whatever, because it's too volatile and you can't use it as like a unit of exchange. But my kind of counter argument to that is I think the volatility, is it's just such a new market. So people are speculating and the volatility is just natural. And I feel like as time goes on, the volatility will, work itself out. And the fact that they say it's like, not a unit of exchange for goods. A few places take it, but what I think is the most important thing to look at in terms of what Bitcoin is actually used for is it's used as like the base currency on all these exchanges. So like if you want to, the cryptocurrency space is blowing up, and there's like totally like just all these new altcoins that are popping up like every day.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin and Ethereum as well. I mean, Monero is starting to be as well. They're all used as like a base currency in these exchanges. So it's like you have to buy Bitcoin to buy like, another cryptocurrency. And so, yeah, it's utilized in that sense, and I think, eventually, cryptocurrencies are just going to become more and more mainstream. And so Bitcoin is definitely going to be necessary, as like a bridge between fiat money and this new, cryptocurrency world, which is, whether it's a utility token or a security token, you're going to need to buy Bitcoin or Ethereum to bridge that, gap between the two like ecosystems.
Very interesting. Like I said, I follow it. I haven't jumped in yet, but maybe I will here at some point.
Yeah.
It sounds, and like you mentioned earlier, very cool that you've kind of started out with something really small, and now you said you're managing a $200,000 fund.
It's grown a lot. Yeah.
So for somebody that wants to get in, what's the right mindset and what's the starting point?
I would say first make a Coinbase account. That's like the bridge between, fiat money. You can even like sign up with your credit card or like debit card and just buy some. Mm-hmm. There's like a small fee for that, but if you don't want to pay a fee, you can wire money in. But then that kind of bridges the gap between fiat cash and crypto. And then once you get into like Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Litecoin, then you can start wiring that and sending it to different exchanges where then you can buy like all these other altcoins. But I'd say for just beginners, I would say it's just probably, I think it's a pretty solid investment as a part of any portfolio to own some Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. Like even if it's just like, a small amount, I think the technology has kind of proven itself. And each cryptocurrency, each of the top 10, for sure, like by market cap, I've proven that they have like an actual use case, whether it's like a niche use case or whatever, that, they've proven themselves. So I think that those are all pretty safe. There's definitely more money to be made if you take the risk of buying like a smaller coin, but then you also have way more risk and you can lose all of it too. So I'd say if you're not watching it every single day, you won't go wrong if you just buy some Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Litecoin, and just hold it and just forget about it.
So in a sense, if I'm hearing you right, like buying into Bitcoin right now would be like buying stock in GE, and it could go up or down over time, but you feel like the value is just going to increase over the next 10, 20 years, 30 years.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. It's going to be for sure very volatile and it's going to be a rocky ride, but I think if you just buy it and forget about it, like in the next, 2 to 3 years, I think it's definitely going to double or even, 3x. It's becoming, I think Bitcoin is going to become more of like, cause like there's like hard forks and that's, gets more, complicated. There's like, splits between the community, and then that's why Bitcoin Cash was created. There's going to be another one in November and it's going to create Bitcoin Gold. But amidst all that, like politics in the community, I think that Bitcoin is going to become kind of like a ultimate store of value for the cryptocurrency space and remain as like the kind of gold of the crypto world. So I think like a Bitcoin investment is pretty safe in the long term. You definitely just can't look at it every day.
Yeah, it fluctuates a lot. Yeah.
yeah, it fluctuates a lot. But I think in the long term, I think it's a solid investment. And if you're trying to look, like, if you're looking into getting into it, just wait for a dip because it's definitely going to dive a good amount. Like it shot up this last, like week or so, like last week, and then over the last like couple days, it's gonna like corrected.
Yeah.
And then you just got to be smart and like really play, when to enter. Mm-hmm. I think, and it'll be a solid like long term hold.
Cool.
For sure.
From an investment strategy standpoint, are there any traditional investors or kind of market guys that you've followed or read over the years?
I would say investing in cryptocurrencies doesn't really follow any traditional investing, strategies, to be honest. Any investment strategy that I use, with stocks just doesn't even apply to cryptocurrencies. One of the reasons is because, people do technical analysis, but like, which it works, some of the time. But I mean, in the bigger picture, like I feel like cryptocurrencies are just very intriguing and different than stocks because you can go from like Bitcoin to Ethereum, to Litecoin to Bitcoin. You can do like triangles. You can do like, and then what is your base? Like in stocks, your base is always US dollars. You always go back to US dollars. But like, in crypto, a lot of these, exchanges, the base is Bitcoin. But like when you have a base like Bitcoin, that's like, going up, like it's like 10x in the last year. Like, how do you even look at a graph like that? You know what I mean? Like, True. It's like, when you have a base, right. And like, you're looking at a coin in comparison to Bitcoin. So it's like, that's a completely different graph than looking at a coin in comparison to like US dollars. Because that's way more stable than Bitcoin.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of the reason why I think like you can't really look at it like trading stocks. The way I invest is I have a few, arbitrage bots, like I said, but I really just try to, invest in projects that I believe in, and I read the white paper, and just like whenever, one goes up, I definitely try to just rebalance my portfolio. So like to take some of the gains off that one coin and then just sprinkle it on the other coins that I'm holding. And that's kind of been, a pretty solid strategy. And also there's a lot of, because it's like a very unregulated space, there's a lot of just information gaps between the people like in the space and just like, an average investor. So if you're able to get in like Slack channels or Telegram channels where people that are big investors in these coins are talking about them and have like insider information, that's huge, because you can get wind of, even on Reddit, you can just get wind of things before they actually are released by the press, which cause major price swings. Like for example, I was just reading an article on Bitcoin Talk Forum like literally like a week ago, and it was talking about this coin called ETP Metaverse. It's a Chinese cryptocurrency that's like similar to Neo and Qtum, but they're focusing on identity and enterprise blockchain. And at the time, their market cap was like 30 million, and their competitors, the guys that like they're actually trying to become as big or even bigger than, their market caps are close to $1 billion. So like I thought that was a great opportunity. I read, I did a lot of research, read their white paper, bought some, and within like 3 days after buying some of it 3x. Like it went from, it's over like 100 million market cap now from like 30 million. And now I'm just like kicking myself. Like I was like, damn, I should have bought bought more of it. Yeah, exactly. I just put in like, just like a decent amount, but like not nearly that much compared to like my overall portfolio.
Right.
Which would have been, crazy gain. But like that's one that I just got word of by just literally just reading stuff online. And one other one that recently I didn't get word of before they released was it's called Stellar. They basically just announced a partnership with IBM, and then immediately just went up like 150%. And so now they're like a top 25 crypto by market cap. And like I looked it up. There's like a lot of things online about them like beforehand, like rumors that they're gonna partner with IBM, and I just didn't like get wind of it in time, and I missed out on that one. But like that obviously would have been like an easy just 2.5x, just which is like it's just you just don't get that type of returns in like a couple days like you do, like in stocks,
right?
It's just like a whole different ball game. So I'd say definitely very very important to stay up to date with all the Bitcoin forums, like getting a lot of good Slacks, and just be kind of like entrenched in the community, because like you can get wind of these coins and news before the public does, which could be very like extremely lucrative.
Oh, awesome. So tell me a little bit more about Flux Ventures. Is that just kind of the company that manages all these kind of cryptocurrency projects, or what else do you do inside that company?
In Flux Ventures, it's pretty much just like a holdings company. I'm the CEO, and I have my one partner is a CTO, and we just have all these projects under our roof. We kind of just use it as like the legal entity, like for tax purposes, and just as like an umbrella company, so we can like house all these ventures. One other company that we actually started while we were in college was Flux.la. It's like a digital marketing business, but we've kind of haven't really focused on that as much. That was more focused on helping companies achieve e-commerce like success, and just increase their SEO, stuff like that. But that other than that though, Flux Ventures is just kind of like a holdings company for all these.
Very cool. Like the parent,
exactly.
The parent for all anything you want to spin up. That's very cool. It's a good strategy.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
One thing you mentioned when we were connecting to get this book booked is you wanted to share kind of like how you are able to manage a bunch of projects and, efficiently and effectively without like massive amounts of time. So touch on that. Tell me what your strategy's been. I mean, you have a lot of successful things going on with crypto, and you have the phone charger business, and it seems like you've been able to spin up a lot of great ideas in a very short time. What's the strategy behind that? Because that's not easy to do.
Right, exactly. I would just say it's really important. Like for me, I just really like making lists, like of things. Like every day I have like a list that I have to, of stuff that I have to do, and I have it planned out for the whole week. And so that's like, otherwise I would just forget everything, and because I have a horrible memory. But I would say just in terms of time management, I try to put in, like the adequate time and make time for each one of the projects every single day, because I think that it's like, it just sounds kind of obvious, but I think the most important thing in any project is just working on it every day. It doesn't matter if it's like, 30 minutes or 2 hours a day or whatever. Like, I feel like you just kind of have to constantly be making incremental progress. Otherwise, if it goes dormant, for a week or two, then that week or two could turn into like a month, and then your project's like, stagnant.
Fall out completely.
So,
yep.
yeah, exactly. And that's definitely happened to a few of my projects, but I'd say like the ones that really matter to you, you just have to make time for them every day, and like just maintain that, because otherwise it's just one day leads into another, and then you're just not working on it anymore. So, and then you just got to keep it fresh in your mind too. That's kind of like the important part that I really think helps me. Like doing it every day just keeps it fresh in your mind.
Yeah. No, it's definitely true. There's an old strategy that I've employed at different times that's been really successful called the Seinfeld effect. You just put up a calendar on your wall and you X off every day that you worked on your big goal, like, working on the new business or working on multiple things, and just, Seinfeld says he's like written every day for decades, and he never wants to break the chain. He wants to keep the consistency of doing that. So that reminds me a lot of that.
Exactly.
Do you mentioned you kind of have the whole week planned out. Do you sit down on a specific day and do that, or are you always just kind of rolling, planning out the next 3 or 4 days, or how do you do that to plan out the whole week?
Yeah, sure. I would say, like, I have like a list of things like at the start of the week for every single day, but it's nowhere near full. I definitely try to solidify the next day in advance every single day. By the end of the day, just have like the whole thing. So my list goes from like, 5 things a day for the whole week to like, each day becomes, 30 things. Okay. 30 list of 30 things. And by the end of that day, the next 30 will be ready for the next day, And so I kind of do take it a little day at a time, but I'm constantly adding to it every week. So like, say if I don't really have a calendar anymore. I used to keep a calendar, but I never really could stick to the time like constraints that I made for myself, and they would always be like inaccurate. So I just kind of decided to start making lists instead. And then if the things that are time sensitive, to make, note of that on the list. Right. And say like for this, like I said, I had, 245, podcast. Yeah. And so, there's definitely times when I forget to put things on the list, but like, as long as, you just try to do it immediately, like for whatever date in advance, mm-hmm. then it's, it's there. So I use this app called Bear. It's like just pretty much like a notes app that's a little more elegant than the Apple Notes app. Cool. And it has like a desktop, equivalent for the Mac as well. So nice. It works out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Just simple lists and keeping track of things, and it is always effective. I was just kind of curious how your strategy works. So that sounds good.
Yeah, no worries.
Awesome. Well, Miles, is there any kind of other kind of parting advice or sayings that you use for yourself to stay motivated, or anything that you want to share with the entrepreneurs out there that are going to watch this?
I would just say, in general, my advice to anyone aspiring to be an entrepreneur, or just anything in general in life, it's pretty broad advice actually, is you have the best, relationships and interactions with people when there's no expectations. And like, for example, like if you're, when you're not working for someone, or like they don't, expect you to like deliver them something, or like you're not expecting someone else to give you something, like I feel like the best, relationships and interactions just happen when you can both kind of sit down and like, you have things to offer, and you kind of, like at your own discretion. Like when there's no expectations from each other, then I think people who are just way more comfortable, and you develop actual friendships rather than, business relations,
just strict business.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd say that's kind of like my advice. And that's kind of what I realized after, just having the money from Flux Chargers to, sustain myself, pretty much like in an automated fashion. That's kind of like what opened up that, type of vibe. Like every time I meet with someone for lunch or, work on a project with someone, they're not paying me, I'm not paying them. Actually, I had employees and everything, but like for now, like in the meantime, like I'm not, getting paid or paying anyone. So, and the entire vibe is different when that's the case. And I think it's much better, and it's much more conductive of, actual collaboration and, and like a long-term relationship.
Yeah. That's excellent advice.
Yeah.
Cool. I appreciate it, Miles. Thanks so much for being on. What's the easiest way for people to reach you if they want to learn about crypto or just connect with you? Yeah,
no worries. I'd say just Miles at Flux LA. Miles at flux.la is my email that I check the most. Any emails, I'll definitely answer. Yeah.
All right. Terrific.
Probably the best way.
Thank you so much for being on today. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Gabe. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to Today's Business Leaders with Gabe Arnold. Remember to subscribe on iTunes. For more information, visit todaysbusinessleaders.com.